It's 11:15 p.m. on a Tuesday night in Hanoi. The heavy humidity of northern Vietnam hangs low over the city streets, but inside a small cluttered office, the air conditioning is humming at maximum capacity. A freelance videographer sits hunched over a dual monitor setup, his eyes bloodshot from hours of color grading. On the screen above him is a stunning cinematic video of a local business. Every frame is perfectly composed, the lighting is flawless, and the transitions glide effortlessly with the music. With a final click of the mouse, the rendering process finishes. The videographer exports the file, sends it over to the business owner, and breathes a sigh of relief. The client responds almost instantly with overwhelming praise, sends over the final payment, and the transaction is complete. Everyone is happy. But 24 hours later, the reality of the situation sets in. The business owner posts the gorgeous asset to their official Facebook and Instagram pages. They don't quite understand the technical requirements of the platforms, so the cinematic framing gets awkwardly cropped. The description features broken hashtags, and the video is pushed out blindly into the digital void. Days pass, and the view counter stalls out at a mere 112 views. The video looks spectacular, but it is effectively invisible. The client invested a significant portion of their budget into a piece of art, but they have absolutely no idea how to make the art work for the bottom line. They wanted more customers, but all they got was a digital file sitting on a dead social media page. This disconnect represents one of the most significant pitfalls in the modern marketing landscape. Far too often, brands and creators pour their energy into making things that look nice without ever building the strategic infrastructure required to give actual business growth. They rush straight to the glamorous creative work or aggressive sales campaigns while completely skipping the unglamorous groundwork of building a brand foundation. In a digital world dominated by short attention spans and shifting algorithms, a single beautiful video or a sporadic ad campaign is no longer a silver bullet. True impact requires consistency, a deep understanding of audience trust, and a willingness to stop chasing vanity metrics in favor of real, measurable business conversations. I'm Neil Mackay, founder of 7 Million Bikes Podcast and Saigon Podcast Studio, and this is Vietnam Content Marketing. In this episode, I sat down with Stevie Parcalidis, the founder of Worldtrip Media, to unpack the massive mistakes businesses make when rushing to sales over building a brand. We explore why content consistency matters more than going viral, how to transition from a simple videographer to a full-stack marketing partner, and why launching a podcast is one of the most effective ways for a business to establish long-term trust and credibility. This episode is sponsored by Saigon Podcast Studio, premium podcast recording space right in the heart of District 1 Saigon. Whether you're launching your first show, recording interviews, or creating professional audio and video content, Saigon Podcast Studio gives you the space, equipment, and support to sound and look your best. Come by for a free tour of the studio and see where your next great episode could be recorded. The link is in the show notes. So Stevie, best content marketing advice you've ever been given?
Going viral is like winning the lottery. Creating consistent content is like investing in your future.
What's the content marketing advice you've ever been given?
Post every single day, post 3 times a day. And so consistency is important, but not at the cost of quality and value.
What is the metric you actually care about?
DM messages received. In a meta advertising campaign, conversions. Likes, views, saves, none of that matters as much to me as the messages coming into a Facebook or Instagram page. Every message is a lead. That's an opportunity for a new customer. Conversions happen in conversations.
What is one piece of content marketing advice for someone starting from zero next week?
Just do the damn thing. The hardest part, it sounds cliche, but the hardest part is getting started. People get up all in their head. It's got to be perfect. They delay the delay, the delay. Just start now and learn as you go, adjust along the way.
There's a reason why a famous brand's campaign slogan is just do it.
And that's why I stole it and made it just do the damn thing.
Podcasts, great for content marketing, yes or no?
Absolutely. That's why we're here, right?
Why or why not?
Building a brand, building a business is all about building trust. And I think a podcast format is the best way to establish trust with new viewers.
So how does a business actually tell the difference between content that just looks nice and content that's actually working?
To answer this question, I'd like to tell a bit of a backstory as to why I started my marketing agency. And so when I first started creating content in Hanoi and Vietnam for businesses, I was simply creating videos as a freelance videographer. And I would give the business owner, here's the video. Wow, it's amazing. Thank you, freelancer. Here's your money. Goodbye. Next day, they posted on their Facebook, their Instagram. It was getting crop cut off, wrong hashtags, getting 112 views. It wasn't being put to work effectively. They were investing in this piece of content. They loved the video. I was so happy. They were happy. They didn't know what to do with it. And this kept happening again and again and again. And that's when the light bulb went off for me 5 years ago. And that's the reason I actually started the marketing agency. It was to solve the full problem. They're meeting me because they want the video. But the real reason they're meeting me is that they want more customers for their business. And the video is just one piece of the puzzle. And so the last 5 years, I've been on this mission to solve that full problem. So a video that looks nice versus content that actually converts into customers. For me, the answer came down to advertising campaigns. When we use targeted meta advertising campaigns, we have control over who's seeing the content. And so with great creative, a beautiful video, a strategic video that represents the brand, paired with a targeted advertising campaign, not only can we control who it's seen by, but we can then measure and manage and performance report the results. So for me, that was the kind of missing gap. A cinematic, beautiful video is nice, but it doesn't mean anything if it's not getting a return on investment, if it's not doing something for the business.
So how difficult is it then to convert someone who just wants the video to then saying, well, we can actually make this video work for you?
Most people don't actually, these days, most people don't actually reach out to me for just a video. Most people come to me and say, I need help with marketing. And so if it's for an event or something very specific, then they will reach out for just a video. But nowadays, social media has changed so much. The days of like, hey, I need a video are kind of over. Unless it's like an event or some specific kind of circumstance. But because of TikTok, because of like social media and reels and attention spans and short form content, one video is not enough anymore. And so most of the time when people are reaching out to me, they're asking for help with their marketing. And that's not just simply a nice video. It's content strategy. It's consistent content series. It's management. It's advertising campaigns. They just I need help with my marketing solution. And because they don't know what to do with the video.
So what do businesses get wrong when it comes to content marketing?
I think they rush to sales. That's the mistake. Branding, marketing, advertising, and sales. They skip past the branding foundation. They rush through marketing activities. They start running ads, trying to make sales fast. And that will work for some time. You know, you make a product, you do a photo shoot, set up a Facebook page, run ads, you'll get some sales. A good friend of mine, a mentor, he said, brand is the long-term play. And so I think that's this common mistake that a lot of businesses, especially in Vietnam, are making. They're rushing past the branding foundation. They're not putting the right energy, effort, and attention to the marketing activities. They're putting a little bit of money into ad budget and then trying to get sales. And so I think rushing to sales is a fatal mistake. I think if a proper branding foundation is laid, if the right investment, care, and attention is put into consistent ongoing marketing activities, then that sets you up for good advertising, and that sets you up for long-term sales and growth.
And that's difficult to hear because we were guilty of that. We are guilty of that. In the beginning, we set up Saigon Podcast Studio, ran some Facebook ads, and nothing was converting, you know? And I was like, we need sales now. We need to make money now. spending money on rent and equipment and everything. We need to make sales now. And I met with a good friend and she worked in like meta advertising, things like this. And she's like, no, you need to do branding for 6 months to a year, which is where we're at now. And stop doing Facebook ads because they just weren't converting. And we're throwing money away. And people said to us, people need to know who you are before they're going to buy from you.
Common story. So common. It happened to you.
So you've started your own podcast right here in the Saigon podcast studio, The Damn Thing. And why did you choose a podcast to help with the marketing of your brand and your business?
Well, when I first met you, I was just, so impressed by everything you set up here. And it was actually a spontaneous decision. When I first said, I'm going to start a podcast, I was joking. And after a couple of days, after visiting you here for the first time, it really started to sit with me. And it was no longer a joke. The reason I started the podcast is it's such a good form of content. It builds trust. It allows me to share my story, the story of Worldtrip Media, in such an effective, engaging format.
And one of the things that you did as well, which not many people done, is you were immediately filming yourself on your own camera, which I was aghast at. First, I was like, what do you do? We have 3 cameras here. You don't need to record yourself on another one. But you know about content and you were like, no, I'm going to take this product, this piece of content and get as many pieces of content out of it as I can, which you absolutely should.
Right. And so, yeah, for me, like this podcast is great for the full episode, but I'm almost more excited about the short form bits that we can repurpose out of it. To me, those are gold.
I mean, we've seen it time and time again. You can get, without an exaggeration, 100,000 times more views on a short video than on the main content, which still blows me away.
I guess, yeah, that one full episode is powerful and you can do a lot of things with it.
So what's the podcast going to do that the rest of your content doesn't?
The rest of the content that I make is not in this format. And so for me, content like this builds trust. This is a great way to build the brand. If I'm making ads or more kind of trendy content or more talking head, it's a very different feeling for the viewer than a format like this. So for me, this isn't like advertising content. It's kind of like more of the branding, marketing pillars. And I've never done a format like this. I am very excited to pull out my camera and film. I love being behind and in front of the camera. And so for me, I feel at home in this kind of setting. I thrive here. I enjoy it. I'm excited to do this.
And I think it's something most people understand, whether they don't know it or not. The podcasts build brands, build authority. You see people on a podcast, you instantly trust them. And I've seen so many examples where, even with myself, but other examples as well, you don't even watch the full podcast. You don't even need to have seen any of it. Just the fact that you know that they have a podcast, you instantly think of that person in a different way and think of that brand in a different way.
I think it's like someone who is an author and has written a book, right? It just adds a layer of credibility.
Love that.
It's something that proves what they do. And so if you have a podcast, that just is another layer of credibility that you're serious about what you're doing.
You don't need to read the book. You just need to know that they've written one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, he's got a book. Oh, he's got a podcast. He must be credible.
For other businesses in Vietnam, when is it the right time to start a podcast and when is it just a waste of time?
Starting a podcast is hard, right? It takes a serious level of commitment to actually do it right. And so I would say it's a winning piece in the mix. Once a business is kind of set up, going and comfortable with their current marketing channels, I think starting a podcast on day one might be a little overly ambitious. And so even for me, like when I came 5 months ago to film the first episode, I haven't even put out one episode yet because I've got a lot of other things going and I haven't given, the proper attention and effort to really package it up and launch it. So I think it's a winning piece when your business, your marketing channels are established and you're in a comfortable position to operate. Then you can add in the podcast and the brand building component. It's a waste when there isn't true passion behind the founder's story. I just met with a new restaurant owner yesterday, and on the onboarding call, we asked him, what's the story behind your brand? And he's like, hey man, I'm an entrepreneur. He's like, to be honest, like there's no like magical story here, you know, straight up. And so he wouldn't be good for the podcast. You know, he doesn't like have this truly inspiring kind of founder's journey. And I think the people that start something that are happy and excited to share their journey, they would do great on a podcast. Some people do better than others in front of camera. And so if you're comfortable being in front of camera, if you have a story that you're excited to share, then doing a podcast is a no-brainer. Start a podcast.
But you're right, because recently we talked with a business as well, but actually about 6 months ago, and they said, you know, we want to start a podcast, but maybe later in the year, like Q3. And as me as a studio and as a podcast producer, I'm like, no, start now. We want you to start now. But I met with them again recently, and just from talking, I was like, yeah, no, they would not have been ready 6 months ago. And they're still not ready, but they're getting closer. And that's the thing as well. You have to choose the right time to do it. You have to be passionate about it. I think the other thing, I've also met many people, they want to start a podcast. They have no idea what goes into it. I've had meetings here where they go, you know, we want to do a podcast. Okay, so what do you want us to do? We can do this. What do you want to do? You realize you have to do the show notes, the titles, the artwork, the editing, the producing, the filming, everything. Like, it's on average 8 to 10 hours to produce one episode. Whether you want to pay someone else to do that or you want to do it yourself, it's going to take 8 to 10 hours full stack. And once I pointed that out to them, I've never heard from them again. Because I think they were like, oh, I think they thought they just showed up and recorded. And that was suddenly, somehow a podcast was going to appear from that.
Right. It's all of the details around it that like people don't even realize. So much work.
So for someone like you mentioned who maybe isn't passionate, but also someone who is not comfortable in front of the camera, they're not used to it, or they're not used to hearing the sound of their own voice, why is a podcast good for that person, and how do they overcome that fear?
One of the best pieces of advice I've got for talking to camera or being comfortable in front of camera is just talk like you're talking to your friend. And so a lot of people turn on because, hey, there's hello internet, hello crowd, hello audience of 10,000 people. Very different tone than just like, hey man, you know, I guess that's why a podcast is good too, because you don't have to like talk to your camera and you can talk to someone. And so for the guy who's shy or, you know, intimidated by going on camera, I think it's completely fine. I think if you can manage to be your authentic self, if you can just be you, doesn't matter. You don't have to be charismatic. You don't have to be a superstar, but I think you can still build trust if you can be yourself when the cameras are rolling. It definitely takes some practice.
But you hear this again and again. I've heard it from when I did stand-up comedy to all the way through to podcasting and in between. It's just be yourself, be authentic. Don't try and be someone else. And then you're fine. Like, just be the best thing I ever heard is there's only one of you and only you can do it. No one else can be you. So just be you. And even if you're just talking to the camera, you're not talking to a guest. The other piece of advice is just talk to one person. Talk to that person watching your video on YouTube or listening to the podcast by themselves. You don't need to talk to 10,000 people or 50 people. Just talk to one person, and it makes it so much easier.
Right. And you feel that in the tone too, the difference, right?
Something I try not to do is like not have the radio voice. Like, so you're listening to Vietnam Content Marketing. This is Neil McCart. Sometimes it's difficult. You have to try and remember to be yourself, which is the worst advice. Not the worst advice, the most difficult advice when someone says, just be yourself.
Right.
They're like, I don't even know who I am, but I'll be myself.
Yeah, easier said than done. I think for people that already can be themselves and know themselves, easy. But for someone who's still searching, it's just like, I don't know how to do that.
So what should an owner, a founder, a marketing director do who knows that they should start a podcast, but they themselves hate the idea?
Just start with one pilot episode. It's going to be eating you up if in the back of your mind, you know you should be doing it, but you're not doing it. And so, as they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
They say, I've never heard that one before.
You never heard that?
I like that one though, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to eat an entire elephant, it seems like the most daunting, impossible task. But if it's just one bite at a time, it becomes suddenly very achievable and doable. So to, do a whole podcast in the series, that's an elephant. And so just to film one pilot episode, see how it goes, that's one bite at a time. And then I think in that first episode, you'll build confidence. You'll learn some things. You might actually love it. But pop the cherry, film that first episode and then kind of review it and go from there.
The other thing as well, that so many people don't like the sound of their own voice. And you'll know as well, when you come to Saigon Podcast Studio, you put the headphones on, you hear your voice in the microphone. I see people's faces change instantly. They're like, oh, wait, I sound like this. And they realize how good they sound. Nobody sounds that bad. Everyone sounds good. And they see themselves on camera for the first time and they're like, oh, yeah, like you said, they start to realize, like, I can do this.
Well, you make people look good on camera. This is a great setup. And I mean, I've heard the opposite, where like a lot of times people hear their voice and they're like, oh my God, that's my voice. But yeah, I think it's a weird feeling for anyone who's never seen or heard themselves on camera before. And yeah, it takes time to get comfortable and to get confident with it. But once you get into it, it really becomes fun and enjoyable.
Stevie, thank you so much for joining us on Vietnam Content Marketing, and all the best with everything at Worldtrip Media.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Neil.
Vietnam Content Marketing is produced by 7 Million Bikes Podcast and recorded in the Saigon Podcast Studio. This episode is hosted by me, Neil Mackay, with production, editing, and support from the 7 Million Bikes Podcast team, Tae, Huan, Ling, and Chi. Thanks for listening. Follow Vietnam Content Marketing wherever you get your podcasts, and visit 7 Million Bikes Podcast to learn more about the team behind the show.